Welcome, everyone, to Spark the Genius, the podcast. I'm Spark the Genius, your host, and I'm here to spark the genius within you. And to help me today is a very talented actress and other creative type person that we'll find out about, Isabelle. And welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. I saw your short film a couple of days ago, and it was amazing. Or, well, what do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about that, or you want to talk about your? We were going to talk about sort of how you've gotten to where you are and what you've been working on.
Yeah, we can start with the short film. It
Okay.
was a horror film, and it first screened at Monster Pool, and I had the chance to see it again at Kino in Ottawa, and I was asked to speak a bit about the process of acting in it and everything, which was a great opportunity, and it brought me this opportunity as well, since you saw me at Kino, and I've just been getting so many great opportunities from that. It's a really great place to network.
That's true. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting how one thing leads to another and leads to another, and yeah. So just by putting yourself out there, a lot of things can come from one thing. So for those of you who don't know what Monster Pool is that, I guess, like a horror film kind of festival in Ottawa?
Yeah, so it was my first Monster Pool as well, so I'm not super in the know about how it all works, but from what I know, it's been going on for the past couple of years. I think they took a break because of COVID and everything, so I believe this was the sixth edition, and it's basically a bunch of indie horror short films that all come together, and we screen them at a big theater, and it's a fun time.
That is
Yeah.
so fun. Yeah, the creator was trying to give away some Blu-ray discs, I guess, of previous anthologies, and everybody's like, "Oh, I don't have a Blu-ray disc." Nobody had the equipment, so but that's so cool. I mean, that just reminds me of, like, I don't know, it feels like the old school days with like little horror films and little theaters and people making things on their cameras. It sounds so fun. How did you first hear about that?
About Monster Pool?
Yeah, like you made it.
Well,
You made your movie for that originally.
So I didn't make the movie. I was just the lead in it.
Okay.
It would be very impressive if I had made it, but I'm not quite there yet.
Yep.
Basically, I'm in a Facebook group where they post all of these events, and there was a thread where you could post your interest, and creators that were making movies for Monster Pool could kind of go through and, message whoever seemed to fit their movie. So I believe the message came from that thread. I don't quite know
Right,
how it
it's
came about,
something
but they
like
just
that.
reached out, and they had even named the character after me. So they were really set on me.
Oh
And so
man.
it just turned out that I was a little bit stressed. I was like, well, where did you hear from me? Like, are you sure you want me to do this? Like,
Yeah.
I was offering to do a self-tape and everything because I never want to take a job because they're interested in me. I want to I guess it kind of comes from wanting to trust myself as well in the role and wanting to know that I'll be able to do it. So I've had people offer me roles, but I always want to send them an audition and just make sure that, like, I am what they're looking for in the role. So luckily I was what they were looking for
I don't know
that
if you can
horror
still hear me,
film,
it's
and
frozen.
that's kind of how it came about.
Uh-oh. You're completely frozen, so we'll probably have to edit this to... Oh, are you back? I can hear you now.
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
Was it frozen on your end too?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so it must be your internet then. That's okay. The good thing about this recording website is that it sort of records on your end, records on my end, so even if the internet's laggy,
Cool.
it'll
Yeah.
keep recording. So I guess I'll edit this together later. I'll just sort of cut out the middle part. But so the last thing I heard was I guess maybe I'll edit it. But yeah, the last thing I heard from you was like I always want to send an audition. I think that's where it cut out. So, but yeah, you were
Yeah.
saying. So here, I guess I'll start again. 1 sec.
That's okay. I went on, so.
Yeah. Okay, so the internet on your end cut out for a second, but the last thing I heard was that you always like to send an audition even if they're interested in you. Was there anything more you said about that?
Yeah, it just makes me feel a little bit better about taking the role. Sometimes I can feel a little bit less confident. So doing the audition just gives me that confidence that like, okay, I can do this role, and they get to check on their end that I'm good for the role, and they can always give like feedback before we actually start filming. So it's just something I've been doing recently when people come up to me and they're like, we want to work with you. I'm like, okay, let's just make sure.
That's smart. That's what I do as well. Like, if somebody wants me to do a voiceover, I'm like, well, let me read a demo for you. Like, I really want them to hear it and go, okay, yeah, that's exactly what I want. I don't want to show up and they're like, oh, that's not what I wanted or whatever. And yeah, I want to feel like they really chose me because of what I could do for that role, not just, oh, you seem fine or whatever. So that's a smart thing. It gives you both more confidence going in. All right, we're back, still dealing with Wi-Fi issues, but thus is the nature of online interviews. I guess, what would happen if we were in person? What could happen, I guess, if you were starting to glitch out and enter another universe? It would be weird. Or sometimes the phone runs out of memory or something. So there's always something. I got to bring,
or people.
People, like people in... What people? Like people in the
like
area?
Like people walking by or coming to see what you're doing or...
Oh, exactly. That's all kinds of... Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what happened when I interviewed somebody at like Kettleman's Bagels. Like there was music playing, but then the guy running it is like, oh, I'll come out and turn off the music for you. This looks like a cool interview. But then after a while, they were like, we got to turn the music back on. I'm like, all right, so I guess our interview's over. So you never know what's going to happen. But that's the excitement of sort of, not necessarily having a TV studio, but just doing it on the fly anywhere. Mm-hmm. And I like being flexible. Like it's like, oh, you could be like, hey, we're in a hotel lobby. Let's do an interview or whatever. So that's kind of fun. And so so you and I share a philosophy for auditions, like giving people actually a sample so that we can both be assured that, I'll bet some actors would just say, no, I'll take the role, and they'll be overconfident. Yeah.
And like, I want to do that, but at the same time, I want to be giving them what they're expecting and what they're asking for. And I don't want to show up to set and then I'm like, well, not at all what they thought it would be like.
I mean, that's a good idea too, right? Even if you give them a sample and they're like, oh yeah, we still like you, but we were thinking it was more like this, then you have a time to work on it and change it, and then you show up on the set and it's ready. It's not you're wasting the crew's time while you're like, should we try this accent or whatever? It's like, wait, what? Time is money here, people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand movies where they just show up and shoot. Like, I feel like if you can, you should always like sort of workshop it and plan out the, rehearse like a play.
Read through at all, like anything. Yeah.
Exactly. So was that your first big role or?
It was my first big role in terms of like the attention it's been getting. Like it was at Monster Pool, so it was my first film like on a big screen and things like that. But I've had other lead roles in some short indie films. I found that this one was a little bit better produced. They had a lot of really great equipment, and oftentimes there's a lot of student films and things going on, so it's great to get experience, but this was like a production.
Yes, that's exciting. Yeah. And it did look great. Yeah, there was like special effects and and it was
fog.
Fog. I know you were acting with all that, and basically it was just you and a character and briefly your dad. So I mean, that's exciting too. Like that's the kind of thing people win Oscars for. It's like, oh my gosh, the whole movie was just Tom Hanks on an island or whatever. Like it's it's especially hard when you don't have other people to act off and it's just you and the special effects and your face and everything. And everybody really responded to that. They were all, like you said, they were asking about, how did you get into the mindset that you're going to cry or scream or whatever. So very cool. Would you say that some actors get known for a certain genre, like they're a scream queen or something? Do you think you're going to be like a horror genre girl, or you have other things you like working on?
I don't think I would become a horror person, but when I was younger, I always wanted to be like kind of creepy. Like I wanted to be like the dead girl for Halloween and things like that. And I was kind of like dreaming of being in a haunted house, but I hate haunted houses. I just wanted to scare people. Right. So I could see myself doing more horror, but I don't know that it's my thing. Yeah. Maybe. It was my first horror, so. Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. And if it's the last thing you ever do, then I guess 100% of your stuff is horror. Did you ever think of going to like that, is it called Sawmill Hunt, or like where they scare people at Lansdowne Park?
Yeah, so I saw like they were casting people. I just didn't have the time required for it. And I go to bed kind of early. So I don't know that it would have been great for me. Yep. But I've thought about it. It seems really fun.
Well, it's definitely good to know yourself and your sleep schedule. Because I
Yeah.
mean, you could commit something and then be like, oh, now I'm tired all the time. I can't be productive doing anything else.
Yeah.
So that's all good. Well, maybe one day. But I mean, you're a big celebrity now. They would have to
Well,
cough up the big bucks to get the star of the wood in their.
I
in their
wouldn't say
thing.
that, but
Yeah.
thank you.
No, that's all right. And it is Halloween. So are you going out for as a dead person or anything, or trick or treating?
No, not this year. I have younger siblings though, so I might go trick or treating with them and then just kind of steal their candy, but that's the extent of my plans.
That is a very good plan. That's basically, the best thing to do. All right. So then, I mean, you want to talk about, you were saying, how you got, like, all the stuff you've worked on until now, or I don't know,
Yeah.
is that stuff even relevant anymore? I don't
Well, yes and no. There's some things that never came to. Can't recall the word fruition. Like,
Fruition?
they
I
never
was
came
gonna
to
say-
be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's always a bit unfortunate. I had a pretty exciting role in a high school satire where I got a role I never thought I would get, which tends to be happening recently. I keep getting things that I never would have thought.
Yeah.
But for example, that's one in particular. I was the mean girl, and I
Oh.
had never thought of auditioning for a mean girl.
No.
So that one was a lot of fun, but unfortunately we weren't able to complete it. I don't know if it will ever be completed, but
That's
you know,
funny. A lot of things
yeah.
happen like that. I mean, even big Hollywood movies, you're like, oh, they never finished that movie with Johnny Depp
Yeah.
or whatever. I've done things like that too. Like years ago, we shot a film in a hotel or a condo lobby with a waterfall behind us, and then afterwards we're like, oh, there's like the sound is awful, and we kept saying we better redo it or redub it, but we just never did. So somewhere there's footage of that thing, and it's like,
luckily I got some of the footage, so I
that's fun.
have like examples of what I did, and I can show like people some examples of that character.
Oh, cool.
But it would be really fun to have it all together.
For sure.
All that to say though, like I've had projects like that didn't work out. I've had I gotten roles, but then the project was canceled, things like that. But
yeah.
the way I started was the way I started in all of this, if you don't mind if I
No, I'd
go
love
into
to
that
hear
a
that.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in high school, and I reference this a lot because it really taught me so much about the industry. I don't think I ever would have really considered it without this, but I was at an art school and I was fortunate enough to be in a concentration program for cinema and television. So we were making movies, we were directing the movies, writing them, doing the scheduling and everything. So that taught me a lot about the behind the scenes, and during that time I was kind of getting more interested in trying to act and things like that. So my teachers at the time were a bit more present in the industry, so they had recommended me groups to join on Facebook because everything happens on Facebook. I had never thought of that, but that's where I get everything pretty much now.
Wow.
So I had joined groups and started doing a bit of background acting.
Oh.
And I think I got a bit fortunate because I started acting and doing background acting on not small but smaller French productions where I really got to know people and talk to the production team, and so that was really great. And I even got to do kind of a partnership because I was in that cinema program where I came to their set and actually did a documentary series on it was called Hidden Roles in the Cinema Industry. So it was interviewing I can't recall the words in English, but there were different roles where I interviewed people that may not get as much credit for their work, costume accessories and all of these smaller roles.
Yeah.
So I got to do that.
Wow.
And it just taught me so much about everything, and then I just kind of went on my own after that, and
That's
taking
so
classes and everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you turned, even just being on set into a documentary, so you were multitasking there, getting your own
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
That's so cool, and that's so nice of you to bring attention to people that otherwise oh wow, people actually want to know, because you see in the credits always who's a gaffer, who's a second assistant director, what do these people do?
Yeah.
But it's also useful for people who might want to get into film and go, oh, I didn't even know that was an option, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's always great to be way more observant of the environment and everything, because when you get to set, you want to know who these people are, who are you working with, what do they all do, and understanding how they work into the final product is important in my opinion.
For sure, especially if you ever want to become a director or a producer or something, and then you understand all the roles. You're not just somebody coming going, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And also just films are very sociable. You can make friends, and if they all know who you are, it's just more fun, and then maybe you guys can even help each other out. You're like, oh, I need some help with this costume, or the gaffing, whatever a gaffer does, that kind of stuff. So that's very cool. All right, so then and Facebook is a key. So that's something that a lot of people don't realize too. That if you're looking for things to do, then sorry, I just saw on my phone my creative director's calling, wants to talk about something.
Oh,
but here, well, you know what? No, I'll just ignore it. I'm in the middle of an interview, man. So that's a good tip for people, join your local Facebook groups, because I didn't even realize there was so many things going on in the community. Yeah. You might be surprised, like, in a city like Ottawa, you're like, oh, you don't think there's a lot of film stuff going on, but apparently, there's all this stuff that you wouldn't even know about.
Yeah, definitely just go on Facebook and, like, search up your city, like, auditions or your city filmmaking, and, like, I'm sure you'll find tons of groups, like... Yeah, and that way, you don't need to necessarily be in Los Angeles or something. Like, you can get into films in your community and then put those online, or send them to agents, or send them to film festivals. Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is if you're looking to get an agent and you're like, but how do I get roles? Well, getting to know your local film community and getting those smaller parts can really, like, get you started up and running, and you can start, like, kind of a makeshift resume, and then you can start submitting actual, clips of you, so...
Yeah, because I find that agents always want to sort of get on a moving train. If they can see, oh, you're already doing stuff, and they can see samples, all they have to do is now just promote you. It's easier for them than going, oh.
And that's the tricky part, right? But I think that's why also a lot of actors, they make their own films, because you can write yourself into the film, and if you do it right, like, it can make something really cool.
Well, that's always been my dream, too, because a lot of people like, oh, yeah, I'm trying to act, and I never get any auditions. Well, just do your own thing. Yeah. Like, you've got a phone, shoot yourself, film a little thing edit it in iMovie or whatever. Yep. And then who knows you better than yourself? So if you just write words for yourself, like, I'd love to be like Larry David, writing myself a Curb Your Enthusiasm, where I get to play my own character.
Yeah.
Whatever you want, you can. There's no reason to do it or not to do it. I was at the Mayfair Theater a couple weeks ago. Somebody invited me to see a couple of horror shorts that were just shot by this guy in his apartment in 1991 with his, like, VHS tapes, and it was just, really low tech, low budget, just him and his friends, just awful. But he shot like a half-hour movie, and then he shot a sequel to it, like, just of him murdering people and stuff, and now it's so much easier with your phone.
Yeah.
You can shoot 4K and just and just bash it out. There's no reason not to. So that's what I'm trying to do now. I'm like, trying to think of simple things that could take place in, like, one location, or that would even make sense to be shooting on your phone. Like, what if it is somebody like, hey, I'm a story about a vlogger who's doing selfie things, but then something crazy happens, but it's even just using the phone. That's the device. So you don't have to worry about, oh, it's got to be on tripods and edited back and forth or something.
Yeah.
So then, okay, so that's how you got started, and then you were discovered in Monster Pool, and then Kino, and then, so what's coming up now?
Right now, I have a project for Digi60 we're about to start filming, which is another film festival in Ottawa. See, plenty of things going on here that you just have to be in the know sometimes.
Yeah, I didn't know about any of this until my friend messaged me a couple of nights ago. It's like, oh, do you want to come to Kino? And I was like, what? I thought that was a typo. I'm like, what is Kino? Like, what are you on the keto diet? What are you saying? and I showed up, like, late, but I managed to catch yours, and then they're talking about Digi60. I'm like, what is Digi60?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh,
see, that's why you got to get out there. Like, thank you to that friend, because now you're aware of all these things, and it's great.
Exactly. I can try making a movie for next week's thing or next month's thing, and and you were saying that Digi60 is kind of a bit more, more difficult or whatever. It's kind of more of a competition. It's not just, anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's a competition. The way I think of it is that Kino is very casual. Like, you show up, you have a fun time, everything. Digi60, I know that again, this is my first Digi60. Like, it was my first Kino a couple months ago, but I know that Digi60 there are prizes and there's a jury and things like that, and there's certain criteria you have to respect. Kino is very much like, do whatever you want, really. Try to follow the theme, but even so, like, it's just a place to screen your show and to network. So exactly. So, well, that's exciting. And so your project you're involved in,
Like, did you meet a film crew and they've asked you to act in it, or?
So basically, it was somebody I had admired their work for a really long time, and I kept seeing them at Kino, but didn't really have the courage to go up to them and just be like, "Do you want to work with me?" So after Kino one night, I had messaged them and been like, "I really enjoyed your film, and I've been like, I really enjoy your projects you do and everything." And I was like, "If you'd ever have something that would work for me, and if you'd like to work with me, like, I'd be really happy to." And they were like,
Yeah.
"Well, we're getting the catch for the Digi60 soon, so I'll let you know if I have anything." And so they messaged me a couple days later with like kind of an idea, and I was like, "Well, maybe I should send an audition first just to make sure." And so I did that, and I didn't think I was going to get it because they were asking for extreme emotions and crying and everything, and like I was kind of talking about at Kino, I have a bit of a hard time crying on cue. I'm not one of those actors that can just cry. So
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going to get it. Like, they had also posted a casting call on Facebook. So I knew other people were going to be submitting to it, and I'd be up against others who may be able to cry on cue. So
Yeah.
I really didn't think I would get it, and I had even sent an email like, "I'll do the smaller role if you'd like, in case I don't get the bigger role, I'll do the smaller role, like, I'm happy with anything." And I ended up getting the bigger role, which is, I think it's a lead. There's like 3 leads, kind of. I would say it's a lead role. So yeah, just reach out to people. That's what I learned.
Yeah, exactly. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Just give it a shot. I find that for everybody, they seem to talk about having imposter syndrome, like, oh, why could it be me? It shouldn't be me. And then you just censor yourself,
Yeah.
and might as well just put yourself out there, and you never know what you'll meet. And that's the thing. Like, maybe somebody meets you and they're like, oh, yeah, maybe not for this, but I have an idea for something else.
Yes.
Or you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
Thing.
I've had that a lot with sending auditions. Like, even if I know that the role might not be quite right for me, some people may take it as a waste of time, but I've often sent auditions where I've gotten replies like, not for this role, but I do have another project coming up, and I'll contact you about it at that time because I really liked your rendition of the piece or anything like that. So it's always good to be seen and to get your name known.
That is so smart,
Yeah.
because think about that. Like, if you're sending something to a casting director or a director or whatever, like, that's getting in front of them.
Yes.
And they're going to look
Yeah.
at it because they're auditioning for something. So whether you're exactly right for that exact thing, they're like, oh, yeah, I didn't know about this person, and here's what they can do. And maybe it even gives them an idea. It's like, oh, I could write them apart for this.
Yeah,
Or,
exactly.
there's all these stories of that. That's how people got big in Hollywood. Like, Matthew McConaughey's always talking about he was supposed to be like a background actor, but he shows up and they're like, oh, you got a good look. Why don't you do this role and just improvise? And,
That's a
became
lot
famous.
of luck, that one, though.
All right, that's for sure. But actually, I mean, I've heard the whole story of him talking about it on podcasts. Like, he just was hanging out at a hotel lobby bar in LA. He was just there trying to figure things out, and he wound up just being friendly to some producer, and the producer's like,
Yes.
hey, we're shooting this movie, and then he shows up the next day. So I mean, that's part of just getting out there and talking
Yeah.
to people as well.
That's a lesson
And-
I've heard a lot, is like, you have to be careful, like, with how you present yourself, in the sense that you always have to be friendly and nice to everyone, because you never know who's going to be in that casting room, or like, you never know who's going to be making the next movie. It could be the person at the coffee shop that like you shoved to the side because you wanted your coffee. Like,
Yeah, that's what they always say. And I would hope that, people aren't just being nice because, oh, this might
No,
be
yeah,
useful
yeah,
for me.
of
Like,
course.
I know, but it is a good reminder, even if, if you're not a bad person, but maybe you're just in a bad
Yeah.
mood one day, you're like, oh, there's no point in talking to this person. It's like, you never know what might come from something. So that's, very good tips. Just be around everyone. And these days I'm always surprised, like, you could talk to a barista at a coffee shop, and turns out, oh, they're a filmmaker
Yes.
too, and they're working on things. So you never know what's going on. And then you even hear about, like, I don't know, people auditioning for the role of Thor, but that turns out, oh yeah, no, because the guy who plays Loki originally auditioned for Thor, but then they're like, no, but what if you play this guy? So yeah, you never know what you might even wind up doing instead of the
Yeah.
audition. So definitely just keep putting yourself that. And how long does it take to shoot like a 2-minute audition or tape? It's like, just do it, get it out there. And
yeah.
and that's, I've done that even for voice acting. They'll be like, oh yeah, maybe not for this, but we'll have some ideas for the future. And so you never know what'll come. So that's awesome. So that's probably keeping you a bit busy this month for the big Digi 60.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Wow. Very cool. and so yeah, is that basically like your life these days? Like your acting is your main focus, and that's what you're always working
I
on?
have a part-time job because always have to. For me, I'm always very realistic about everything. So obviously, acting
Yeah,
isn't a paying thing for me at the moment. But I really enjoy doing it. Like obviously, I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't enjoy it. That would kind of just make no
yeah,
sense.
no,
I'm
yeah, yeah,
definitely not in it for the money. Like I said, I'll take any role, any
yep,
production because it's just so good for practice and everything. But acting
yeah,
at the moment, I find it's a bit slower, but I've been really fortunate with the Monster Pool and the Kino and the Digi60 coming up and everything. So I
yeah.
do have that part-time job, and I audition to anything that could fit me, even like remotely. So that's pretty
That's
much what I've been
amazing.
up to, yeah.
Yeah, remote auditions. I mean, that's how it's all happening now too.
Yes.
So why not just send things in? That's a smart idea. Just keep throwing things out there, see what happens, and if it gives you pleasure, like why not? That's the thing. Like a lot of people spend their time like, oh, I'm just gonna watch TV or just go to the mall. But if you're spending your time doing auditions, that's what you love and it's productive, and why not do
Yeah.
that? And for sure, it's smart to have a job. Like almost everybody has a job. My original improv teacher was a receptionist at an ad agency, and they would let her go off to auditions during the day and
Oh, that's
stuff.
nice.
Because yeah, with acting, like,
You never
you have no
know.
control over whether you've got a job or not, so you can't rely on that for money. Like everybody, like unless you're The Rock or something. But even The Rock has like different companies that he owns. Like no, Ryan Reynolds is buying like mobile companies and like running an ad agency, so nobody's relying on their acting to pay the bills, kind of thing. So very smart, and that way it takes less pressure off it. You're not like, oh my god, I didn't get a role. It's like
Yeah.
no, you've got your job, you're making your money, and then acting on the side or whatever, doing as much as you can. And especially being in Ottawa, like you've got it's not LA. There's the fact that you're doing so many things is especially impressive,
Thank
kind of
you.
thing. So very cool. I'm sure it's an inspiration to everyone, and we're going to see lots more things. And yeah, I was thinking I want to try to enter some of these festivals and get some stuff done. So yeah, let's do a quick fun
All right.
brainstorm on like what we could do together, because some of the things I've been trying to think of that I could do, it's like, oh, what if I came up with some idea that would even work online, like this, like if we were filming it over
Yeah.
webcam. I mean, not for a short film necessarily, and we're local, so we could do something together. But that's because I saw this woman on Instagram that had this idea where she was like an Uber driver, and she was always like misunderstanding or just this rude Uber driver, and she would get her comedian friends to be in the back seat of the car. So it was a very simple thing. She just set up her
Yes.
phone and she'd be like, who are you? And it'd be this weird misunderstanding. So so I was like, oh yeah, what if I could be like, I don't know, like a mental health therapist online, or I'm auditioning people for my movies, and so then I get a variety of people. So that's like one thought.
Yeah, those are good thoughts.
Yeah.
The virtual thing has been really helpful too. I find I did do a scene like that where it was like a virtual therapy thing, and then I recently did a play online, and it was a group of teenagers that were like all in different rooms of a house, and they were doing it on Zoom, so it worked perfectly. And basically it was like a horror like thriller, like there were spirits in the house, but we were able to all do it together from like all different parts of the world because it was on Zoom. So,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah,
wow.
it's really great what people can come up with. Like, I would have never thought of that.
That's the thing. That's so smart. That's what, yeah, you can get actors everywhere, and it's like a little movie. I definitely want to see that.
Yeah.
How did you even find out about that
That
one?
was a virtual theater opportunity that was just on Facebook again. That production in particular is by We All Shine Productions, and they did multiple plays under the theme of like it was like a Halloween show. And so that was a 40-minute play. We were all on Zoom, and so it was really fun, that one. Yeah.
Wow, a play too. See, that adds a lot of fun to it because it's like, live.
Yes, it
and
was
you're
live, yeah.
all interacting with each other. Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
fun. Wow. See, now you're, your theater, your film. Do you do music? Are you going to win a Grammy
No,
too?
I don't do music. I enjoy singing, but I don't think I would do anything with that unless like a role called for it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll see. Maybe you'll be discovered like, Zendaya or something. She's acting, but now she
Yeah.
has a singing career because sure.
You never
I'm
know.
gonna throw you in. Yeah, that's exciting. Okay, so we could do something like that. Yeah, I wonder if we were going to do something online, like what could be a recurring character kind of thing. Like, I don't know, maybe you're doing remote work for me, or I'm your landlord and no, that makes no sense. I don't know. I know Phoebe from Friends was doing like a show where she was like a therapist and like doing sessions over Zoom kind of thing. So that was a recurring thing. And then if we were going to do a short film, like it was lucky because your horror film, somebody had a backyard and you could shoot it. It's like, oh, we got a location. So that sometimes I try to think of like, okay, well, what's the location we have? And then you write backwards, like, okay, so if we've got, a phone booth or we've got.
Yes, think of the location first. Yeah.
Yeah. And then because that's the thing. Like I find that, especially working in advertising, sometimes I've got a brief. It's like, oh, it needs to be this product, so that once you've got that thing, and then it helps, you can sort of be creative and write something around that kind of thing. So you don't necessarily need a complete blank slate, and then you're like, oh, but where are we going to get a school bus or whatever? It's like, well, no, we know we've got this thing. I don't know. We're not going to come up with it now, but do you have any good locations? Where would you want to shoot a movie?
I don't have any off the top of my head, but I know there is a website.
Yeah.
I believe it's by the Ottawa Film Institute, something Ottawa Film thing. Yeah. And they have a website, or maybe Ottawa Film Network, something like that. I can't recall right now. I feel so bad for them. But anyway, I'll let you know the website. But there is a website with a bunch of locations in Ottawa that will let you film. And they've got like permissions and everything, so they already have a list for you where you can like look through and contact the businesses directly, so you don't have to like call everywhere. You already have a list of people that have said like, yes, you can film here, just let us know, contact us, and we can talk it out.
Oh wow, I'm just looking online at ottawa.film, so it might be the Ottawa Film Office.
Yes, that's what it is, Ottawa Film Office.
Bureau du Cinéma d'Ottawa. And then it's at Ottawa Filming Locations. Yes. Ottawa's the first. So then what do we got here? We scroll down, and know a film-friendly location. Contact us. Okay. Oh, then it's broken down to small town, rural, office space, neighboring cities.
Yeah, they did all the work for us.
Oh wow! And then it's like Perth, Almont. Okay, that's funny. The Glebe. Wow. And then it's got here's a pub, and here's the Mayfair Theater, and here's West Coast Video. Wow. Okay, I guess maybe they're just showing you the neighborhood. I don't, or maybe these are actual. Like if you click on the house, it says the Glebe, and it's taken with this photo. So maybe that's just somebody walking around the neighborhood. Like I don't know if necessarily those pubs or whatever would be available. It looks like somebody just walked down the street. Yeah. Anyways, well that's good. Yeah, they've done it. I mean, that would be useful. Yeah, if you don't live in the city, you're like, what does this neighborhood look like? And then here's the photos. Very cool. See, well there you go. So we've got millions of possibilities. And do you like ever doing like comedy, that kind of thing? Like would you be in a Curb Your Enthusiasm where you're sort of improvising, playing a silly character or something?
I haven't done a lot of improv. I've done a little bit. And like I said, I did that satire. I haven't done full-blown comedy, but since I do a lot of like teenager roles, I'm very down for like the sass and things like that. That's kind of the age range I usually get. So I'd love to try something like that sometime.
That's good. Yeah, I wrote a commercial a long time ago where I guess the idea was that it was for a detergent that doesn't fade your clothes. So that I had this boy going to school, and then everybody's wearing faded clothes, but he's got dark jeans, and then they all look at him and go, oh. And then I cast some girl who was like, somebody hasn't heard of the fade or something. And then he goes home and he's like, oh my God, he tries to fade his clothes with this detergent, but it won't fade because the detergent is so good at not fading clothes kind of thing.
That's awesome.
And yeah, the girl we cast was so nice and stuff, but somehow I remember the director and everybody going, oh my God, it just comes naturally to teenage girls to be sassy or something.
Whenever I showed up to the set, I had a lot of people. You don't look like the mean girl. Like, you're the mean girl?
Right.
Yeah. Give me a second. Like, I haven't even started yet.
Yeah, you just look too nice. And then but it's almost better that way because it's like, not a cliche. It's like, oh, this person seems sweet. It's like, oh, it just sort of comes out of left field. And that commercial got pulled off the air almost instantly because somebody complained, that's bullying.
Oh.
It's like, oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
So we had to I came up with a different idea. What was it? Oh, he just saw in a store window. It's like the faded look is in. So then he goes back home trying to fade. Oh. So we solved it because we still got to
I see what they're saying, but still funny.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You never know. I also shot a commercial with a bunch of animals, like puppets that had their heads up dryer vents, and they're all sniffing the different scents of bounce fabric sheets or whatever. It's like, oh, this one smells like April Fresh, and this smells like, Meadows or whatever. But then somebody wrote in and said, oh, that's dangerous. Like, you shouldn't be inhaling fumes from a dryer vent, or what if some kid sticks his head up a dryer, whatever. So you never know. Yeah, like commercials are very tough, but film's probably less trouble.
Yeah,
like,
I don't think anybody would
complain.
really think to say that on
No.
a small indie short film, but you never know.
No, yeah. Everybody's looking for something to complain about.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I think everybody who has listened to this is very inspired
so.
to
Just do it.
And we've learned lots
Yeah.
of good tips. Just do it. It's just sum it
Yeah.
up. Yeah. Oh my God. Well, I'm inspired. I'm just going to start auditioning and going to all these Facebook groups and just shooting things.
Yeah.
And very cool. And hopefully, next time we talk, we can tell people about the movie we shot
Yeah,
together.
that'd be super awesome. A little get together to talk about how it went and the process. Could be cool.
Yeah. All right, so there you go. And maybe it'll be a real discussion, and maybe we'll also film things where it's like a spoof, like we're working on a film and we're talking about, it's like, okay, I've written a new role for you. I don't know why I'm doing a funny voice now, but it's Isabelle, and have you practiced your line? And you're like, yeah, this makes no sense, and I'm like, oh, whatever, it's a silly thing. And then people on TikTok would be like, oh my gosh, what is this crazy film they're working on? What is this audition? Whatever. Who knows?
So many
cool.
ideas.
Or maybe the two of us will be like co-directors, and we'll be auditioning other people. Like, hello, the two of us are here to look at your movie.
Oh yeah, and they
Again,
come
I
in
don't
and
know
we're
why
all
I'm
like,
doing that voice. Look at each other. That's the thing. Well, with this software I'm recording on now, we can bring in like a third or fourth or whatever person. So maybe we should just come up with some idea for like, that's the thing. Yeah, maybe it's this crazy movie. We're like, okay, we're bringing the actors in, and they're like, what is this? And we're like, oh, it's a horror film that takes place in a candy store or something, and you're playing, I don't know, like a giant rabbit or something. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what the idea is.
but something
it
like
could
that.
be
Yeah.
Something weird, and then we're like, and in your line is like, please give me more candy, and we're like, I don't know, it's not mean enough. You're gonna be like,
Yeah, mean rabbit.
mean.
And they're coming
rabbits.
in and they were expecting something completely different. They're like, I thought I was auditioning for this
Yeah.
role. And we're like, well, actually, can you do this one instead?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we have got other ideas. We changed our mind last night.
Yeah.
We were coming up with
We
our
added a
script,
rabbit.
and we're like, we added a rabbit. Exactly, that'd be kind of fun. Cool. So we've got our
There we
idea.
go.
So that's it. We're gonna be auditioning other actors, and that way it gives us an endless pool of actors, and
We can include a bunch of
everybody's just like,
people
"Oh."
and it would be fun. Yeah.
Exactly. It'll be so fun. All right, everybody. Look forward to our new series called Auditioning Actors for Our Movie That Never Gets Made. Oh, but what if we ever sometimes do it? Like after the auditions, we actually shoot our bad movie and stuff, and then that'd be kind of fun
See,
too.
it's just
really
keeps
rough.
going. Yeah.
Just flowing here. I'm excited. There we go. See, we have sparked the genius within us. I knew it would happen. Cool. Well, thanks so
Thank
much,
you.
and enjoy your day of being productive and your squealing child in the background.
You can hear that? Oops.
No, it's fun. It's like, it must be fun. Maybe we'll get your siblings in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, they can act as well. You gotta make it happen. Cool. All right. Well, thanks so much for being on the show. We'll talk to you
Thank
again
you.
soon.